In last year's waiver wire video prior to week number 1, I included players like Rico Dowdle, who was a weekly starter. I also had J.K. Dobbins in there, who had a bunch of very solid games last season, as well as Jordan Mason, who proved to be a great pickup early on in the season when Christian McCaffrey was out. In today's video, we're going to be trying to find that same magic that we found prior to week number 1 last season. I'm going to be giving you guys 15 players that you need to not just run to the waiver wire to add prior to week number 1. If you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. So without further ado, let's get into 15 players you must add before week number 1 of the 2025 fantasy football season. So we begin with my main man, Jaydon Bonnie Blue, running back of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I understand that if you are on certain platforms, it's very unlikely that Jaydon Blue would be available, like if you were playing on Sleeper, where he's rostered in 63% of leagues. But if you are on Yahoo, just 37% of leagues have Jaydon Blue on someone's roster, 48.5% on NFL. As we get deeper and deeper into the waiver wire ads, they will be much more readily available. Jaydon Blue did end up getting banged up in the preseason, but he is now back at practice. He is competing with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders for touches. Javonte Williams has been a disaster for anyone that has watched the guy play football over the last couple of years. And if anyone has had the worst opportunity of their lifetime to have started him in their fantasy lineup, they know just how bad Javonte Williams has been. The defense will be significantly worse for the Dallas Cowboys this year without Micah Parsons, so they're going to have to be throwing the ball more. And the best pass-catching running back on this team, in my opinion, is very clearly Jaydon Blue. So I definitely think if he is available in your league, you should be running to the waiver wire to pick him up. Last year at Texas, 134 carries for 730 yards, 42 receptions for 368 yards, and 14 total touchdowns. The guy definitely has the pass-catching prowess to succeed in fantasy football and to become a very viable part of this Dallas Cowboys offense, especially late on in games, if they're getting taken to the cleaners and they're having to throw the ball a ton, which I expect to happen up against the Eagles. So I think week number 1 could end up being the coming out party for Jaydon Blue. Should you start him in week number 1? Of course not, but you definitely should have him on your roster. At number 2, we have another guy that definitely isn't the most available player in the world, and that is Keenan Allen, wide receiver of the Los Angeles Chargers, 61% roster on Sleeper, 49% on Yahoo, and 10% over on NFL. Last year in Chicago, in 15 games, he was the wide receiver 36 in PPR points per game. He had 121 targets, ranking 17th. He had 70 receptions, ranking 26th, 744 receiving yards, ranking 39th, and 7 total touchdowns, 20th. He was the definition of boom or bust. He was either in your lineup going absolutely nuclear and might have been one of the reasons why you won your week, or if you had started him, he might be the exact reason as to why you lost your game, right? 5 games with 20 plus PPR points out of 15 games. In the other 10 games, he scored fewer than 10 PPR points. Keenan Allen in his last season as a Charger back in 2023, he ranked 5th in receptions, 11th in receiving yards, 11th in yards per out run, and 11th in receiving grade according to PFF. Prior to last season, he put up 8 of 9 seasons as a top 13 wide receiver in terms of points per game, and the only year where he fell outside of that was when he got hurt in week number 1 against the Chiefs back in 2016. I highly believe that Keenan Allen still has some gas left in the tank. Will he be this super weekly reliable starter? I am not too sure about that, but when he's free on the waiver wire, you definitely should scoop him up. At number 3, we got Ollie Gordon. Now, honestly, with how much talk I have seen people talk about Ollie Gordon, how people are singing the praises of Ollie Gordon, I was shocked to learn that he is rostered in 57% of leagues on Sleeper, sure, but 34% on Yahoo, 8.9% on NFL. The Dolphins running back De'Von Achane will practice today on Monday for the first time since suffering a calf injury back 3 weeks ago. If Achane doesn't have any setbacks, he'll be good to go. But we all know that with an injury like a calf injury, in this game, the next couple of games, the chance that he re-aggravates the injury is obviously higher. I'm not saying he's guaranteed to get hurt. I hope he does not get hurt because I have a ton of De'Von Achane in fantasy football. but I do believe that Ollie Gordon is now clearly the RB2 on the team. Dolphins running back Jalen Wright underwent a small procedure and is now expected to miss the first few weeks of the season, according to head coach Mike McDaniel. At Oklahoma State, we have seen Ollie Gordon prove to us that he can be a bruiser back. This man rushed for 1,700 plus yards in 2023 with 22 total touchdowns. Definitely a bit of a disappointment last year, but again, this is a backfield that is in need of a clear number 2. A couple of years ago, if you guys remember, back in 2023, Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane were tag teaming defenses on the weekly, forming an Eiffel Tower over defenses. I'm not saying that Ollie Gordon and Devon Achane are going to be Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert from 2023, but it is in the realm of possibilities, and if something was to happen to Devon Achane, knock on wood, Ollie Gordon could be a league winner that is just sitting on waivers right now. At number 4, we got 2 guys, so technically 4 and 5, but we'll just talk about them as one player. Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford, F-150, running backs of the Cleveland Browns. Sampson's current rostership percentage is 52% on Sleeper, 47% on Yahoo, and 7.7 on NFL. Ford, 45% on Sleeper, 45 on Yahoo, and 13.8 on NFL. The biggest takeaway from this video so far is that people playing on NFL Fantasy are asleep at the wheel. Now, there have been some reports surrounding around Quinshon Judkins. Sleeper Browns tweet, Browns rookie running back Quinshon Judkins could be back with the team as soon as this week, according to Mary K. Cabot. We also heard the same thing last week from some sources. We also heard some of those same exact fucking things 2 weeks ago. So, I'm not going to say that this is completely fugazi. I'm not saying this is completely fake news, but it is entirely possible that this is just a whole bunch of malarkey. And even if Quinshon Judkins does return today, tomorrow, the next day, he has not been at training camp with the team. They're not going to instantly just thrust him in there as the lead back on the team because of what he did in college. That is not how this will work. So early on in the season, it should be a combo of Jerome Ford as well as Dylan Sampson. Jerome Ford kind of feels like the more sexless pick. I don't think Jerome Ford is super exciting, but he could be able to fend off Dylan Sampson and be the RB1 early on the season, and potentially, if he does well enough, he could be the RB1 for the whole season. Dylan Sampson is a lot more exciting. He is that brand new, shiny rookie piece. I like both of them, but frankly, if I had to pick up one or the other, I think Dylan Sampson has significantly more upside. At number 5, we got Braelon Allen, running back of the New York Jumbo Jets, 55% rostered on Sleeper, 69% on Yahoo, and 22.8% on NFL. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Aaron Glenn, on some ways, he plans to utilize running backs Breece Hall and Braelon Allen. I told Breece today that receiving will be an element of the game that we're going to try and make sure that we utilize. And Braelon, a 240-pound man that's always falling forward, that's where he's going to make his money. Just being able to downhill run, that's going to weigh on defensive players. And when you are able to continue doing that, you create something as far as a team, as far as a identity that the league will take notice of. And I'm looking forward to that. Now, in terms of RBIS, which is a metric to look at performances here in preseason, Braelon Allen was atrocious on his 15 carries, failing to break a single tackle and register a poor YCO per attempt number, despite being well above YBC per attempt. Now, again, I'm not saying that Braelon Allen is some complete and utter scrub, because the team clearly plans to utilize him, so we should be picking him up, but I still do believe that Breece Hall is going to be the guy. This will kind of be our litmus test, right? In week 1, are they really trying to make this a 1A, 1B scenario, or is Breece Hall just the guy? Because again, I understand that week 1, we talk about this a lot, it can be a liar, but in week number 1, if the usage of Braelon Allen is incredibly low, you can just cut bait after this game. He did have 2 solid showings last year, though. Week 2 up against the Titans with just 35.7% of the snaps, 2 receptions on 4 targets for 56 yards and 2 total touchdowns as the RB6. Up against my Dolphins in week 14, 54.4% of snaps, 4 receptions on 5 targets with 81 total yards as the RB23. And guess what? Even if he is not like the clear 1A, 1B scenario with Breece Hall, he still should be good if something was to happen to Breece Hall, knock on wood. At number 6, we got Dameon Pierce, running back of the Houston Texans, 16% rostered on Sleeper, 4% on Yahoo, and 0.9% on NFL. Now, there's going to be, this is a great tweet from Dwayne McFarland. Woody Marks is going to get all the praise for that touchdown run in preseason. The bigger story is Dameon Pierce. He played 91% of the snaps in the first quarter and handled 78% of the attempts. This matches the camp buzz with Pierce battling Chubb for the RB1 reps with Mixon out. Mixon is going to miss the first few games of the season and may not return this season at all based on some of the reports that I have read. There is a large part as to why you saw a decline in Dameon Pierce. Bobby Slowick never evolved the offense, calling plays that did not play to the Texans' strength. This season, you will see a much better offensive scheme with an improved offensive line. The biggest difference is our mentality. Howard told ESPN, this type of offense fits a lot of the guys that we have in this room, being able to start the game off strong as an offensive line and be able to finish games. Also, running the ball and then using the run game to open up the passing game, not coming out with fucking negative yards on outside zone run plays, stuff that didn't really fit us. That is a quote. I didn't just add in the effing for no reason. Even though normally I just throw that into sentences for no reason, I didn't add that one in. Dameon Pierce was a guy that I talked up a couple years ago. I gave him the Sukalamink special, and ultimately he kicked me right in the cojones. But based upon the fact that Nick Chubb is an unk, and while I do believe in Nick Chubb, I think if Dameon Pierce is just free on your waiver wire, maybe you don't even have a piece of this backfield at all, he is certainly a guy that is worth rostering because, again, week 1 will really tell us, is this going to be Nick Chubb's backfield, or are we going to see more Dameon Pierce? Or maybe on the outside chance, Woody Marks really carves out a strong role in this offense. He's also a guy that you could talk about, but honestly, to me, while Mixon's out, this is going to be a battle, at least early on, between Chubb and Dameon Pierce. At number 7, we got Dante Thornton, wide receiver of the Las Vegas Raiders. 32% rostered on Sleeper, 9% on Yahoo, and 2.9% over on NFL. Before we talk about Thornton and the rest of the waiver wire ads, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, you will get a first deposit bonus of up to $1,000 in bonus funds. And if you play $5 in pick'ems, you will receive $50 in bonus funds as well. Understanding the pick'em is very simple. You pick at least 2 players, higher or lower on their number. And if both of those hit, you will get paid out. Now, if you do multiple other picks, obviously 3, 4, 5, the payout will be higher, but you obviously have to hit all the picks. So make sure you guys do check that out. I love Underdog. They have a bunch of great promos running over there right now. Make sure you guys do check that out. Promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description. Now, Dante Thornton is a guy that has been getting so much buzz in training camp, in preseason. Everyone loves Dante Thornton. They brought in Amari Cooper. There's the looming Jakobi Meyers contract situation, which ultimately I think, based on what I've seen, probably will be resolved since he is practicing with the team, but you never know, and he is clearly outplaying Jack Besh as well. So I think coming out the gate of the season, it is entirely possible that even if Jakobi Meyers does play, and when he does play, Dante Thornton will be the number 2 wide receiver in targets on this team. Ben Cummings FF put on Twitter something that I thought was very good, so I was going to bring it up in the video. He is an extremely rare size/speed combination, 6'4", 5 inches, and runs a 4.3 40. That man is fast as fuck, as they would say. He has been the starting X wide receiver for the Raiders all summer. Very important. In terms of college at Tennessee in 2024, first in yak per reception, third in YPRR 3.72 RR, and 27th in ADOT 16.5. To me, that looks very good. His usage should be very good. And while he wasn't this crazy high NFL draft pick, it's important to understand that situation matters in fantasy football, and he is going to get a lot of usage which is very important, mixed with the situation, with now a better quarterback with the Raiders compared to what they had in the past couple of years. I'm definitely willing to pick him up. Then we got Christian Kirk, wide receiver of the Houston Texans, 56% roster on Sleeper, 42% on Yahoo, and 41.4% on NFL. Ultimately, Christian Kirk doesn't feel like that sexy of a pickup, right? Like, I think Dante Thornton really could end up being a verified league winner by the end of the season. Christian Kirk kind of feels like more of that condom wrap pickup early on in the season. 56% roster on Sleeper, 42% on Yahoo, 41.4% on NFL. Nico Collins is obviously the number one target. We already know that, but I do think Kirk will be second in the hierarchy earlier on in the season, and Jaydon Higgins will be third, while Jaydon waits to kind of take over. So I think early on the season, Kirk could be rostered in deeper leagues. He could even be played, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I think Christian Kirk's going to really win anyone their leagues. But, if we do end up seeing the Houston Texans offense kind of go back to what they were doing in 2023, being a much more just a better offense as a whole, right? Really dominating, putting up belt-to-ass numbers with CJ Stroud up on those defenses, then Christian Kirk could be even better than I think, especially if Jaydon Higgins struggles early on. Back in 2022, we saw Christian Kirk have a pretty solid season, 14.2 PPR points per game as the wide receiver number 18. I get Christian Kirk isn't the sexiest name out there, but he should be on rosters. At number 9, we got more of a deep pull. Got to go deep in the bag for Elic Ayomanor, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans, 18% rostered on Sleeper, 3% on Yahoo, and 0.7 on NFL. 2 seasons at Stanford, 1 year with over 1,000 receiving yards in his freshman season, 831 in his sophomore season, 6 touchdowns in back-to-back years. Every single clip I have seen out of Elic Ayomanor shows that this man is not only better than Tyler Lockett, he's better than Van Jefferson, and he will become the number 2 target in this Cam Ward offense in Tennessee with due haste. I don't think it's going to take a while. I think it is going to come quick, like some premature ejaculation. I think Elic Ayomanor really is good enough to solidify this role early on in the season. While I don't think that instantly out the gate Cam Ward's going to set the NFL ablaze on fire, I do think that a guy like Ayomanor is going to get fed targets in this offense. So I do expect him to have a big influence inside of this offense early on. Again, this is something to watch though, because if Tyler Lockett's unk ass just gets a million targets because of his veteran status, if he's getting a lot more work, or even Van Jefferson for being older in the NFL, that will certainly hurt. So again, none of these guys you need to be firing up in week 1. If you get to the end of week 1 and you're like, oh my gosh, Nick, Elic Ayomanor didn't do diddly squat, he actually looked bad, even though he looked pretty good in all the clips of him that I've seen, then you just drop him like it's hot. At number 10, we got Brenton Strange, tight end of the Jacksonville Jaguars, 29% rostered on Sleeper, 22% on Yahoo, 2.3% on NFL. Joe Rocco put on Twitter, 7 games last year with 65+% of the snaps, top 10 tight end output in 4 of 7 games. Evan Ingram obviously is now in the Denver Broncos, vacates 7+ targets per game. He wrote that the Jaguars GM loves Strange. Ultimately, I don't think that the GM loving a player necessarily means that they're going to be the second coming. This is going to be fucking Rob Gronkowski 2.0, but he is the clear tight end number 1 on an improving offense, which I do definitely agree with. Last year in his sole game with 80+% of the snaps against the Jets in week 15, he was the tight end 2 with 11 receptions on 12 targets for 73 yards and 18.3 PPR points. Again, we're going to expect, like we've talked about all summer, Liam Cohen to take this offense and put them into a higher gear. We are expecting Trevor Lawrence to make a next leap up. And if you think the Jaguars offense is going to be good, then you definitely want to be taking their tight end with, you know, maybe that last round pick if you're still drafting, or for free. If you are operating with a kind of shitty tight end number 1, right? If you're sitting there and you got Jake Ferguson, I like Jake Ferguson, but if you got Jake Ferguson and you have a free open bench spot because, hey, Rashee Rice is on your IR or Jordan Addison Ray, then go ahead and add Brenton Strange because I think he really has the ability to be a top 8 tight end by the end of the season, especially with how much Trevor Lawrence liked to target Evan Ingram. At number 11, we got Joshua Palmer, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, 34% roster on Sleeper, 24% on Yahoo, and 4.5% on NFL. I was big onto Joshua Palmer last season, and Joshua Palmer's production was far from ideal. He was the wide receiver 71 in PPR points per game. It felt like I did all of this talking up all summer for Joshua Palmer, talking about how he's going to elevate in this Chargers offense, just for him to fail at mega proportions, right? He just wasn't even remotely good. But now it's a change of scenery with the Buffalo Bills. They've got Khalil Shakir, but I will continue to say, look, Khalil Shakir's fine if you want 10 fucking fantasy points, but Khalil Shakir hasn't really shown me enough to believe that Khalil Shakir is really this clear number one alpha target in Buffalo. They've got Keon Coleman. There's some things on tape that will tell you that maybe Keon Coleman isn't that guy. Again, I get Joshua Palmer hasn't really had the career that I hoped he would as a Joshua Palmer stan, but we have seen some great showings out of him in the past, and I think that in Buffalo with Josh Allen, we will see week 1. Hey, what does the target hierarchy look like? How often is he getting looks? If he is just a 0, right, and we're seeing Khalil Shakir fucking feasting like a fat kid on Thanksgiving, we're seeing Keon Coleman getting a boatload of targets, then you just cut Joshua Palmer. Again, you're not tied to any of these players you pick up in week number 1. At number 12, we got Kareem Hunt, running back of the Kansas City Chiefs, 32% roster on Sleeper, 17% on Yahoo, and 4.8% on NFL. Appears to be the clear running back number 2 in this Kansas City Chiefs offense. If this isn't the scenario that I think it will be, where Pacheco's the clear lead back and they're really kind of easing him in, or maybe they don't really want to have that workhorse running back that it seemed like Pacheco was going to be early on in last season, then Kareem Hunt could really elevate himself in this offense into being start-worthy. If not, he's just a good handcuff because if the Chiefs offense is running incredibly well and something happens to Pacheco, then you probably want the running back 1 on the Kansas City Chiefs that you can pick up. So it's just worthy. He's just worthy of an ad because you want to see what happens, right? You want to see how the game plays out. How much usage does Pacheco get versus Kareem Hunt? If it's clearly Pacheco on top, then you just run away from Kareem Hunt. Next up, we got Bryce Young. If you want to start a quarterback week 1 off the waiver wire, Bryce Young is that guy. 28% rostered on Sleeper, 27% on Yahoo, 8.3% on NFL, going up against the Jaguars in week 1. From weeks 12 through 17 last season, Bryce Young was the QB 11, averaging 18.1 points per game, only threw 0.5 interceptions per game to 1.83 total touchdowns. He looked so much better from the start of the season compared to the end of last season, and I think the addition of Tet McMillan is really going to boost up Bryce Young this season. Losing Adam Thielen obviously sucks donkey dick now that, Jalen Coker is hurt and on the IR, right? I thought Jalen Coker was going to play a big role. They still have Xavier Legette. They have a tight end that I like in Jatavion Colonel Sanders. Short King Bryce Young, definitely startable up against the Jags in what could be a barn burner, maybe the highest scoring game of the week. At number 14, we got DeMario time. DeMario Douglas, wide receiver of the New England Patriots. 24% roster on Sleeper, 16% on Yahoo, 1.4% on NFL. The final player I want to talk about in today's video, and I know there's going to be someone in the comments, Nick, this is clickbait. This is player number 14. You said 15 players. Well, Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson are 2 different players, so we're at player number 15. DeMario Douglas appears to be the clear wide receiver 2 behind Diggs and ahead of Kyle Williams. We have heard so much talk this summer about how everyone loves Draco May. Everyone is getting down on their knees and just massaging the nutsack of the Patriots. They love Stephon Diggs, which I do, right? They love Drake May. They think the Patriots are going to the playoffs. The Patriots dynasty is back. Bill Belichick, eat my nuts. Have fun in UNC. Have fun in Chapel Hill, buddy, because it's Mike Vrabel time. Everyone's getting all high and mighty about the Patriots, but no one's drafting the number 2 receiver on the team. On an offense, they expect to make a big leap under the second year of Drake May. So you just pick him up. He's free. Just pick him up. and we'll see what happens. If DeMario Douglas, who has been very impressive in training camp, according to a lot of reports, then DeMario Douglas could pay off in a big way, especially if Diggs comes out the gate a little bit slow because he's coming off of that injury last year to his ACL. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you didn't enjoy today's video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It'd help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. If you'd like access to my weekly rankings, my draft guide, all that is available on Patreon. Link in the video description for $12.50 a month. I love you long time. I hope you have a great one. And as always, good boy.